When we think of the space race, our minds immediately go to the moon, right? But during the Cold War, while all eyes were on America, the Soviet Union was on a completely different mission, a terrifying series of experiments on our neighbor, Venus. This isn't a story about footprints on dust. This is about a secret, brutal campaign to conquer a world of fire and pressure. And it all leads to one of the biggest mysteries in space exploration.
I mean, think about it. The Soviets poured billions into this, launching a whole fleet of probes to Venus. And then, they just stopped. They walked away. So the central mystery we're diving into is this. What did they find there that was so horrifying it made them abandon the planet for good? That's the question we're going to answer. All right, so let's set the scene. We're in the 1960s and 70s, the absolute peak of the Cold War. And the space race? It wasn't just about science, not even close. It was a battle for bragging rights, for ideological supremacy. Who was the true king of space? The stakes? Well, they could not have been higher.
What's so fascinating is how this created a total split in strategy. The United States, they focused all their energy on the moon. It was a huge, visible, glorious target. But the Soviets, they kind of realized America might win that race, so they pivoted. They chose a far more mysterious prize. Venus, a world completely wrapped in clouds. Their goal was to prove that if America could land on the moon, Russia could step into hell itself.
See, at the time, everyone thought Venus was Earth's twin. It was about the same size, it was right next door, but those clouds made it a total mystery box. The thinking in the Kremlin was, hey, anyone can look at the moon with a telescope. But if they were the first to show the world what was under those clouds, if they found oceans or jungles or heck, even alien life, that would be a way bigger deal than landing on some dead rock.
But while the ambition was massive, Venus was not about to give up its secrets easily. The Soviets were so worried about looking bad that they only announced missions after they succeeded. And let me tell you, there was a whole lot of failure they had to keep quiet about. The struggle was real right from the start. Their very first try in 1961 didn't even make it out of orbit. Then Venera 1, the first probe ever sent towards another planet, just went silent after a week. 4 years later, Venera 2, same story. They even had these ghost missions that failed so badly they didn't even bother giving them a name. Venus was already proving to be a really tough nut to crack.
They finally got a win. Sort of. With Venera 3. On March 1st, 1966, it became the first man-made object to actually touch the surface of another world, which is huge. But it was basically a suicide mission. Its systems failed before it could send any data back. So it was this historic moment, but it was a completely silent crash.
The first real hint about the horrors of Venus came from Venera 4. Initially, the Soviets claimed it landed safely, but the truth was way, way grimmer. As it was going down, it was literally pulverized by an atmospheric pressure so intense it was like crushing a soda can. For the first time, they realized they weren't dealing with an atmosphere like Earth's. They were dealing with something monstrous.
So that failure was a huge wake-up call. The game had completely changed. They weren't sending explorers anymore. They were basically sending soldiers into a war zone. Their whole approach to engineering had to shift. The new goal was dead simple: survive.
So meet Venera 7. This probe was an absolute tank. I mean, it was incredibly heavy, super rugged, and they stripped out most of the science equipment. Its entire design was focused on one single objective: withstand the crushing pressure and the hellish heat long enough to land and just prove it was there.
And unbelievably, it worked. I mean, during its descent, its parachute ripped, and it slammed into the surface at almost 40 miles per hour, landing completely upside down. But against all odds, the Russian scientists managed to pick up this super faint signal. For 23 agonizing minutes, Venera 7 broadcast from the surface of Venus, the first successful transmission from another planet in human history.
And the data it sent back? It was terrifying. First, the temperature. The surface of Venus was 465 degrees Celsius. That's more than double the heat of your kitchen oven on its highest setting. It's hot enough to melt lead.
Then came the pressure. It was 90 times greater than the atmospheric pressure right here on Earth. To put that in perspective, that's the same pressure you'd feel if you were 1 kilometer deep in the ocean. Any person would be instantly crushed into nothing. And finally, as if that weren't enough, the wind. As Venera 7 was falling, scientists noticed its radio frequency was shifting. You know, the Doppler effect. They did the math and realized something was pushing the probe sideways, hard. They were detecting hurricane-force winds of 360 kilometers per hour, way faster than any storm we've ever seen on Earth.
So now they had the horrifying numbers. They knew what it felt like on Venus. The next great challenge was, well, what does it look like? What could a landscape possibly look like when it's forged in an inferno like that?
And in October 1975, they did it. Venera 9, this massive 5-ton lander, it touched down and did something no machine had ever done. It sent a picture back to Earth from the surface of an alien world. Just an absolutely monumental moment for all of humanity.
And this is what it showed us. Any last, lingering hopes of Venus being some secret paradise, they were shattered forever. It wasn't a sandy desert or some lush jungle. It was a bleak, oppressive, and grim landscape of sharp, cracked, desolate rocks, all baked under a crushing, poisonous sky. Okay, so the next phase of the program is this wild story of incredible breakthroughs, paired with some of the most frustrating, almost comical technical failures in the history of space exploration.
You just can't make this stuff up. They could build a probe that could survive hell, but they couldn't get the lens caps off. On Venera 9 and 10, only one of the two cameras worked. Then, on Venera 11 and 12, both lens caps failed to pop off. They survived for almost 2 hours on the surface and sent back 0 photos. But the best one, the absolute best, is Venera 14. Its soil tester arm deployed perfectly, right on top of its own ejected lens cap. It spent its mission just testing the hardness of its own garbage. Incredible.
But then came Venera 13, and it was a spectacular success. This time, it didn't just see Venus, it experienced it. It sent back the first color photos, revealing this brownish ground under a sickly orange sky. It even had a microphone that recorded the first sounds from an alien world, the howling wind and the distant crackle of thunder. And its seismometer confirmed that Venus, just like Earth, has earthquakes.
This brings us to the final chapter of the Venera program. After years of these brutal landings, the Soviets decided, okay, let's change our strategy and build a lasting legacy.
So the final 2 missions, Venera 15 and 16, they never even tried to land. They became orbiters. For 8 months, they just circled Venus, using this powerful radar to finally pierce through those thick clouds and map the entire surface. For the first time, they revealed the planet's actual topography. We're talking mountains 8 kilometers high and massive cracks stretching for thousands of kilometers.
And this table right here, this is their ultimate legacy. This is why they never went back. Just look at this comparison. An average temperature hot enough to melt lead, an atmosphere of carbon dioxide with clouds made of sulfuric acid, and a surface pressure that would instantly crush you. Venus isn't Earth's twin, it's Earth's evil twin.
So, in the end, was the Venera program a failure? I'd say not at all. You see, the Soviets didn't fail to go back. They succeeded so profoundly in their exploration that they proved exactly why no one should go back. They set out to solve a mystery, and what they found was a nightmare. It really makes you wonder, what other terrifying secrets are still out there, hiding in plain sight, just waiting for us under the clouds of other worlds?